Hello, welcome to Miniature Realms. My name's Stuart, and I think your Warhammer the Old World tables could look much better. Miniature Realms is proudly sponsored by Counter-Attack Bases. They stock a wide range of counters, gaming aids and movement trays for multiple game systems, and offer custom items to suit your club, your event, or even your podcast or YouTube channel. Check out the link in the video description. So what do I actually mean, and is that a bit of a bold claim? Maybe, and it's a bit of fun really, and I'm not teaching anyone how to suck eggs or telling you how to play your games, but I've been following the game for a long time. I've been talking about the game on this channel for a long time, and I've been hobbying and painting and sharing that as well. And one thing I have noticed is with this edition of the game that certain terrain boards can look pretty sparse, following the rules of the game no doubt, but also could be a little bit better. And I thought it'd be fun to discuss it in this video and show some really simple ways that you can fill out your board a little bit without making it unplayable. Maybe a little bit harder for event organisers and TOs, because again, it's hard work trying to make all of these things, but still, these are some tips and ideas that I have while thinking about the game and the way of making my game tables looking a little bit smarter and looking a little bit more realistic or full of interesting elements. I think we'd all agree that a 6x4 gaming table filled with nicely painted terrain, a little bit like this, looks absolutely fantastic. But one of the major problems with that is it's not very practical for playing games of Warhammer the Old World. We've got large units of ranked up troops that need to pivot and move, sometimes in quite intricate ways, and this much terrain is sadly just going to get in the way. It's perfect if you're playing skirmish games, perfect if you're having a narrative idea around a roleplay game or something like that, but just sadly not quite right for playing games of Warhammer. What's more, if we open up the big blue book and look at the example battlefields, they do actually resemble that a little bit. There's not quite as much in the center of these books, but as you can see, there's an awful lot of terrain around the edges, a lot of small parts, and it looks fantastic. These are the kind of pictures that I think many of us who've been gaming for a long time got us into the game, looking at these beautiful colour shots inside these rule books. Definitely when I was a child, you think this is Warhammer, this is what I want the game to look like. But when we actually turn to the rules, we find that those pictures don't really have much of a relation to what's going on. We look at the recommended amount of terrain on the table, and essentially for a 6x4 board, we're going to end up with about 6 pieces of terrain, which is definitely not what we're seeing here at all. There's a bit of advice and guidance, or maybe rules, depending on how you interpret those things, about the size of those terrain pieces as well, and maybe you could get around it by having 2 smaller pieces that make up the size of a larger one close together, just to give you that slightly extra visual look. But unfortunately, if you follow the rules to the letter, and I understand why people do, especially for events, and I want to make that very clear, event runners probably have to go for slightly different rules, but what you end up with is something that looks a little bit more like this. And as nice as those 6 pieces of terrain on there, I mean, they're my own, but I'm going to call them nice anyway, I think this is pretty uninspiring, and I'm using pictures from my own stuff rather than stealing from the internet. I'm not shaming anyone here, as I've already mentioned, but I see a lot of pictures from gaming clubs and a lot of pictures from events, and this is what I tend to see. And ultimately, it's fine. It's within the rules. It does the job, and it leaves you plenty of room to play the game. And of course, with miniatures on there, it looks a lot filler and doesn't look anything as stark as that. And maybe I've deliberately not placed miniatures on at this stage. And I must admit, when I first read the rules, I was a little bit disappointed. I understood it from that practical point of view, being able to maneuver large blocks, especially the rules around not having anything placed in the center at all. I thought that was a shame. I understand that you want to draw armies into the middle, but there's enough space on that table, and maybe that limits some tactical play, and having something in the middle forces players to do something different. And now we see that returning a little bit with scenarios when there is actually an objective that needs to be in the middle, which I think gives you something to aim for. But I was a little bit disappointed, and I do like this set of rules at its core. I think it's really good. Maybe not well spaced out in the book and easy to find certain things, but at its core, I like the direction they've gone with the rules this time round, but it just felt a little bit light on the terrain rules, especially the last edition that I remember was 8th edition, and we moved into very full battle tables with lots of terrain that didn't really mean anything other than being set dressing. And I think the solution is incredibly simple, and it's there with this little last section, battlefield decoration. Very small decorative elements of terrain less than 2 inches at their widest point, such as a stack of barrels or a roadside shrine, are called battlefield decorations. Such small features can be added to the battlefield in the same way as terrain and in the same quantities. In addition, some scenarios might specify that a number of battlefield decorations will be included as objectives or part of a narrative element of the scenario. But due to their small size, battlefield decorations rarely interfere with a battle. They are ignored for the purposes of both movement and combat as if they were not there. Should the presence of such a battlefield decoration ever interfere with the positioning of units, simply make note of its position, move it to the side, replacing it when it's convenient to do so. However, they may obscure line of sight. And there we are, that's it, we can go home now. End of the video. Joking aside, that really is the core of the solution for people who want to make their tables a little bit fuller. I appreciate that's not going to be easy for a lot of events and even some clubs, because building terrain and holding terrain is expensive, and to do that en masse is hard, but it's something I would encourage if you can do it, and players can bring their own to at least club nights and things. Maybe you don't want them bringing to official events and things like that. And you can adjust them as well. That last line about blocking line of sight, if you don't want that to impact the game, you're a match play kind of person and you like the fairly sparse table, then maybe leave that last bit off and just have them on there as decoration, just remove them and completely ignore them other than the way they look. And I think it will make your table a lot better. It's amazing how simple just adding a couple of nice quality trees, you've got to remember they're supposed to be less than 2 inches. You can be a little bit flexible in that by having things like this on your table that you can just move out of the way. Really fills out the dead space. There are plenty of other elements as well, even this little extra hut that you can build from the fortified manor kit. Now you probably won't want to stick this in the middle of the field on its own, it will just look odd, but maybe if you've got the building there, maybe 6 inches away from this or 4 inches away from it, you could have this so it looks narratively part of the setting, but that's 2 inches wide at its widest. You've also got the extra pillars that you get in the Chaos Ruins set as well, and these are perfect just for dotting around on the table. Maybe you've got that Ruins set as one of the buildings, and then you have these spread around. And even in the smaller sections of walls, yes, the 2 inches go up to about here, and if you can ignore that little bit on the edge, and definitely the way I play my games, then again a little bit of extra dressing there to make the table not look quite so odd. And you can see, even with just the minor addition of a few of those little extras, a few trees spread around, a couple of the little extra ruins on there, I think already the table looks a little bit more realistic. And essentially you still only got those 6 core pieces of terrain there, 2 woods, 2 buildings, or 1 counts as a building, and you can even say that that is solid all the way through and doesn't have line of sight. And again, you can play around with more. The larger building together still fits within the boundaries within the rules. Still got 2 hills there, still got 2 woods, and then by the building you've got that small section of wall and a couple of bases of gravestones which fit under that 2 inches as well. And again, for me it just looks so much better. I appreciate it's not going to fit, I've already said, in all events, and I wouldn't expect to turn up at tournaments and see this, but at home please do this if you can. And the main rulebook mentioned objectives, and of course we've got the match play guide and all of the joys that has brought with it as well. So don't forget that your baggage trains, use them in game, because not only are they fun, they also provide you with something that looks like battlefield dressing as well. And the same, as already mentioned, with the objectives, perfect little things to fill in some of those green space gaps or whatever colour your battle table is. Now, if you like the idea of adding some scattered terrain to your collection, you may want more than just trees or the odd little bit of fence that fits under the size from the fortification kits. And there are a few on the market. In fact, there are hundreds of different options on the market. I'll give you a couple of examples. I'll start with a couple of my favourite kits from Games Workshop. They're both from the Middle Earth strategy battle game. They're sculpted by Ray Dramfield, who does loads of the buildings for them and some of the more modern stuff. He's just absolutely fantastic. He did the balloon parts of the cathode balloons if you build them. So you've got the Lake Town house, and it's got loads of walkways, got boats and barrels and little extras in it. And yes, that's a lot of a kit just for those extras, but you can use those houses as well. And I use them in my Mordheim builds. Go and check out that video if you haven't already. And the same with the house that we have for Rohan, loads of little extras, and it's so usable, that kit, to go and build into other things that you can use for Warhammer, the old mod as well. And then we've got the Wargames Atlantic General Accoutrement Markets and Barricades set. It's really new, this, and it just looks fantastic to me. Loads and loads of little extras there that you could use. Of course, you got other options as well. These are some really lovely 3D prints, scatter terrain, very similar to what I just showed you as an example from Wargames Atlantic. These are from Grace Windell. I got a bit of a triple thank you here. So Grace Windell provided these files to my friends Carolina and Alex at Witch Art 3D, and they have printed these for me using Wargamer resin, which is made in conjunction with faux hammer as well. And these are really, really lovely prints, and these are the kind of things that you could get, and I'll definitely recommend these. Let Alex and Carolina tell you a little bit about Wargamer resin in this kind of semi-sponsored section of the video.
It is a very premium material designed in UK by Yes That's 3D Printed and faux hammer.
Now the crazy thing about this resin is that it's designed specifically to replicate injected molded plastic. The kind of thing that you see on all plastic miniatures that come in the retail market. It not only looks and feels like plastic, but also cuts like it. You can literally scrape it off, sculpt it with a normal tool as you would do with all plastic miniatures. It's the very first of its kind. If you would like to learn more about that, you can visit us at WitchArt 3D Printing Services on Facebook and simply chat with us to learn more about the offers we give, the Wargamer resin, and all the deals you can find there.
And I can certainly attest to the quality of the resin. It definitely files just like plastic does, or very, very similar to it. I didn't notice any issues, and it's pretty flexible on those smaller parts like the swords as well. I haven't broken anything. I didn't stress test it too much, but it feels pretty good for me, and it'll definitely stand up to the kind of gaming use that I did. And I'm using a quick paint job, and this isn't a painting video at all, but they were easy to paint up. There's loads and loads of detail on there, lots of zenithal, lots of dry brushing as underpainting, and then loads and loads of base coating with glazes mixed with different contrast paints, a bit more dry brushing, a few more glazes again, and then picking out some of the details like the metallics and things, and some of the fruit and the fish that are on the table, and they are loads of fun. And it's just an example of the kind of stuff that you can use as scattered terrain. I've based a few up on little squares that are around 2 inches square as well, so I know they will be the right size. And again, it's just fun things to add to your table if you game that way. And I think they came out fine. They painted up nicely. I've got a nice little set of scattered terrain here now, which will work in the way I've been suggesting in this video, but it's also going to work in setups for Mordheim and other skirmish games as well, not necessarily even just Warhammer. I've got a video coming out soon on Moonstone, and this little setup will be perfect for that as well. And they got a little display with some of my halflings there lined up in front of the market with some of those buildings. Now, it's just really an illustration of what these things look like, and just to show off them as I was very kindly sent them by Alex and Carolina from Witch Art 3D. So do go and check them out. They are good people, and they do very, very good quality prints and have licenses for quite a few different manufacturers or 3D designers. And you may have already seen these images from the Battle March video that I put out last weekend, but you can see these in action there on the table. Looks pretty spread out, but again, you're just adding a little bit of table dressing to a town board. This is the smaller size table. This isn't 6x4. This is the Battle March size. But again, just shows you can add a little bit of extra to the table to fill it out if you want to. And that's just scratching the surface. The lists are endless. There's other things you can do as well. And some of it is just about talking with your opponent. And if you're not at an event, you should be able to add maybe extra bits of terrain and just agree to move them if there's any major issues that prevent you from playing the game properly. You can also add
lots of terrain right around the edges of the board, quite often where miniatures never go anywhere near, especially if the battle is focused in the centre. And if you do go to the edges, right up to the side edges of the board, you can agree just to move it out of the way as well. It just makes the whole experience better, in my opinion, makes the table look better. So do add more to your tables than it says in the rule book if it makes the game look better, and just don't be frightened to bend the rules, change the rules, and if, like I said, it gets in the way, just move it, no drama at all. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. And just finally to reiterate once again, I'm not telling anyone how to play their Warhammer, how to do their terrain, and saying what they're doing is wrong. You play your way. If you want mousepad terrain, you go and do that. That's absolutely fine. Play Warhammer and any war game your way. I'm a big believer in that, and I'm definitely not trying to force my views on anyone or cast any judgment on people that don't play the way I do. I just know a lot of people who follow this channel like the hobbier and the fluffier sides, and they like tables and they like them to look nice, and I've made videos on those kind of things. I thought it would be a fun way of approaching the subject. If you have enjoyed the video, please do give it a like and drop a comment below. It really helps the video be seen by other people. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and check that notification bell, and check back the subscriptions tab once in a while as well. YouTube's odd at the moment. You don't see your subscriptions on your home screen half as much as you used to, and it's very easy to miss videos from your favorite creators. I'm not saying I am your favorite creator at all. I'm sure you have many others, but go and give them a watch and check as well, because you may be missing content that they've put out there. But anyway, please go and check out the channel sponsor, Counterattack Bases, and if you really want to support me, check out my Patreon as well. It really is one of the best ways of helping me out to continue to make videos like this. But thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you soon.